guys, MrPokke here, and this is finally going to be our Quadra Zero Cycle video with Phainon, right? So by the time this video goes up, I would have finally been done with all of my guide videos, so this is where I actually get to sit down and you have a little bit of fun with myself, right? So for the upcoming next couple of Quadra Zero Cycles, I essentially went about two different routes because I don't really want to bore you guys with the exact same team with different MOCs, because that way it's going to be a little bit more so towards the boss interactions. I kind of want to showcase you guys two different setups that you can run. One, this is going to be with, at this point, this Phainon is going to be unlocked at E2 S1, right? But the first couple of Zero Cycles, so the first two Zero Cycles, I did it with a E0 S1 Phainon, making use of Sunday, Babin, as well as Bronya. And then for the next two Zero Cycles, I actually went ahead and do the E2 S1 Phainon setup, but with full 4-star or basically free supports running Ting Yun RMC as well as Bronya, right? Ting Yun RMC as well as Bronya. So two different paths, and yes, both fast Phainon as well as slow Phainon, they can work, right? So it's not to say that Phainon can always run attack boost. Sometimes if you do want, especially if you were to run him with Robin, as you guys will see later on, running speed boost is actually not too bad of an idea. So the general consensus with Phainon is that he's actually very straightforward to play. All you have to do essentially is just to give him as much bars as possible, get to 12 stacks, and you want to... The key difference on the game, the Zero Cycles, is to ensure that you enter into the next phase with at least 6 stacks of Scourge, right? You want to have 6 stacks of Scourge because that is what allows you for that last action to let go of one final big AoE blast, and then when you transform back again into your ultimate form by getting all the different bars from supports, and that is when you can usually end the phase. If you cannot finish wave 1 with 6 stacks of Scourge, so you finish up with the last stack, so you go into the next phase with like 0 stacks or 2 stacks, most of the time I found myself just not having enough damage. So that is pretty much what I found. For both the setups in like Bronya as well as non-Bronya, or the 4 stars or the E2 S1, E0 S1, I would say that right now Phainon does feel quite nice to play, just that especially if you want to go specifically into the Zero Cyclings, you have to be very strict with his Scourge decks, right? A lot of times you don't even need to care about the counters, just use your enhanced basic attack, get your stacks and get out. That is pretty much it. So these are going to be the builds. This Phainon at this point is going to be already an E2 S1, but the relics are relatively unchanged. This is a setup without the speed boots. So with the speed boots, you are going to be just essentially change this into something like I believe something like this, and that is pretty much how you run it, right? So 140 speed with the speed boost, making sure that he's gonna be faster than Sunday, and that's really all there is. So the first portion is gonna be with Sunday. That is where I ran with Phainon speed into Sunday, and then after Sunday I want to time with Bronya. So this is actually gonna be the fast Bronya, and I'm gonna be changing this back into the slower Bronya speed. So you can see that there's a lot of different speed options available for team buildings, but I don't want to yap on too much anymore, and let's just jump straight into the fight itself. Alright, so this is going to be the Memory of Chaos 12 with the next phase Svarog, as well as upcoming after Svarog, it is going to be Aventurine, right? So you can see over here, the rotation for this is gonna be pretty straightforward because Phainon, it turns out to be quite nice against into Svarog despite the lack of physical weakness, because of the fact that when you enter into the ultimate stage, your teammates are now free from getting any hits. So even if Automatron were to hit Phainon in the face, he's not gonna get crowd controlled and can just basically brush it off because he takes almost no damage. So that is how you would do it. You can see that my Phainon actually decided to go ahead first. Sunday is gonna give us the buff up. We are gonna go instantly get into the 6 stacks, and the Sunday brings up Phainon. Phainon goes again. Afterwards, Bronya brings up Phainon again to give us the maximum 12 stacks, as you can see over here. So this is why I made my Phainon faster than Sunday. This is where there is a little bit more speed involvement. So you can see over here, my speed for Phainon is actually a little bit too slow compared to Sunday. So what happened for this specific setup is that my Phainon over here, I believe he was on 136 speed, and then my Sunday was on 135, and my Bronya was on 134. Nobody at Dance, we did not activate E2 Babin, but because of the fact that our Bronya was slower than Sunday by that 1 speed, by the time Bronya brought back up my Phainon, because he was not fast enough, he actually could not outspeed Sunday. So in order to prevent this from happening, I highly recommend to at least dedicate like 2 to 3 speed faster than Sunday instead of exactly 1 speed higher. Then you wouldn't run into a situation where your Phainon is actually slower than Sunday, right? So actually, this is not most optimally speed tuned, because what's gonna happen here is after Robin casts her ultimate, she's gonna bring up in the order of Sunday, Phainon, and Bronya. which means that you are going to be wasting 2 stacks because your Phainon didn't get an extra turn, right? So you do want to make sure that your Phainon is at least 2 speed faster than Sunday, and then your Bronya is going to be as close speed as Sunday as possible, ideally 135, 134. So Phainon should roughly be 137 to make sure that this kind of thing does not happen. But luckily for us, because we have the power of Phainon and like the overall damage is going to be sufficient for us, we can still manage to get a 0 cycle eventually. Another thing to know over here, this is going to be the same for everything. You want to cast your buffs before Phainon gets into the ultimate stage, right? So you can see over here, after HOYO-MiX get into the Angry Mode and summon the Goldfish, that's when I cast my Bronya ultimate, I cast my Robin ultimate, I basically gain all of my buffs in this specific rotation, then I cast my Phainon ultimate over here, right? So now that I got my Phainon ultimate, that's where he gains the full buffs from both Robin, Bronya, as well as Sunday to do an absolutely massive 1.6 million damage E0 as one Phainon, right? So that is absolutely ridiculous, almost instantly killing HOYO-MiX as well as the Wolf. So in terms of damage, you're definitely not going to be lacking, especially if you stack on your buffs as fast as possible, which is why I say if you were to run Sustainers with Phainon, it is, in my opinion, the optimal way to play him in the first place, whether or not you are going to be playing him 0 cycle, because without a triple amplifier, this damage will just drop off much more considerably compared to other DPS that can still run without a triple amplifier, right? So because of this, all the buffs, they tie up very, very nicely together. So I am going to just go and head into the basic, and this is very important over here, right? This text, right? You must always enter into the next wave with at least 4 stacks so that you can cast off your enhanced skill, the AoE blast going forward, right? Ideally, actually 6 stacks, right? Sorry, 6, because your very, very last action, you generate 2, so your final burst is going to be at 4 out of 4, leaving you into the ultimate form, right? So over here, he's gonna go for it, and we are just gonna clean this off with one more basic attack, leaving us at 6 out of 4 going into battle, which means that after this ultimate, we are gonna be able to do a technically not ultimate enhanced skill, substantial amount of damage, 1.5 million, putting Svarog at 69%. You can see this entire time, I did not use my enhanced skill whatsoever, because my only objective is to get this up as fast as possible, and technically our single target basic attack, its multipliers are honestly quite considerable as well, right? So you can see we are just gonna keep up this very basic rotation, and other than that, there really isn't too much to talk about. You basically keep rotating this thing over and over again. So you can see over here, this is gonna be 4 out of 4. Send this wave in, and because we didn't get our final stack, so it is what it is, we will exit the stage at 2 out of 4, which is completely fine, because this final burst, where you exit the ultimate stage, is still going to be dealing substantial damage. It's still going to be 1 million damage, leaving Svarog at 4%. So you can see over here, we do have a lot of room to grow with for the upcoming damage. So you can see, ideally, this speed is going to be properly tuned. So you can see Robin, after casting an ultimate, the action value for the rest of the team is going to be at the exact same position, right? So before you were in wave 1, because we casted Robin's ultimate immediately right before Sunday went into his ultimate phase, our entire team's action value, it was like frozen in place, right? It was almost as if when like Phainon went to the ultimate form, he went to like a different reality, then he, like, you know, he closed the TV, he exit, and he comes back into our current reality. All of our teammates' action values, they are at the exact same position, right? Sunday, Phainon, Bronya, all of them as 0 cycle, which is why I say, because our speed tuning was a little bit scuffed here, we were basically left out this potential 2 stacks that we could have otherwise gotten if he was actually faster than Sunday over here, right? So over here, Sunday is going to bring us up. So unfortunately, we did waste 2 stacks, goes back in, and we actually get the job done. Ideally, if you do not have enough damage, then your Bronya's next hit will definitely give you enough stacks, because I don't think you actually get enough skill points unless you actually activate the E1 Bronya. I'm not too sure if you actually got it. So what you want to do over here, if you couldn't kill Svarog over here, is Bronya skills Sunday, Sunday skills Phainon, and then you cast your ultimate, and then he brings this back up, and you eventually get the related 12 stacks toward the 0 cycle. So that is pretty much it for the very first memory of Chaos 12. And then jumping into our next memory of Chaos 12 is going to be up against Aventurine, and I would say Phainon is probably the strongest unit I've ever seen against Aventurine. It's almost like he was built perfectly to counter the entirety of Aventurine's kit, which you guys are gonna be able to see very soon, right? So over here, I do want to point out this first 2 minions that's gonna be coming from the first wave in the second half of MOC 12. They actually deal a lot of damage, right? So sometimes if you actually get a very bad RNG and your Phainon like dies without a glow passive, you basically just have to reset, right? Other than that, you just have to tank out this very first hit. If you cannot tank out this first hit, just reset and then just try again, right? So it is what it is, a part and parcel of the sustainers run. run. So the option is gonna be exactly the same over here. We're gonna be going for skill into Sunday, into a skill again. Bronya pulls us back up. Phainon goes, and then we are going to be getting our relevant stacks over here, right? You can see our speed is still going to be a little bit scuffed. Ideally, you do want to make sure your Phainon is 2 speed above Sunday so that this kind of situation does not happen, right? So whichever the case is going to be, we are essentially going to just go in and do the exact same thing that we have done, right? Cast our skill into a Bronya ultimate, into a Babin ultimate, into a Phainon ultimate. The triple ultimate combination gets us into the enhanced form, gets every single one of those buffs, and then you activate your ultimate here to keep all of those buffs in place as if he enters into another realm, right? So now you're gonna be doing absolutely insane 2 million damage, absolutely ridiculous damage over here, and then from a single base attack, you actually kill both enemies at the same time. And I do want to say for this specific juncture, we actually killed a little bit too fast, because ideally, you want to make this to be at 6 out of 4. Right, ideally you want to make that to be 6 out of 4. So we actually dealt a little bit way too much damage, but it is what it is. We're just gonna jump right in and then instantly let go of our enhanced skill with the Planet Buster. Bada boom, bada bing, bada bang. 1.5 minute in 23% HP. Almost instantly getting him into phase 2 from 2 abilities. That's all you needed with Phainon. Absolutely perfect for Aventurine. And because of this, we just nice break him to give us the last 4 out of 4 stacks. And then he's gonna go into phase 2 immediately over here. Alright, so in this juncture, right here, I do want to say there was a little bit of a misplay over here. So what essentially happened is that when I let go of the Buster, right, so you always let this go, right, no change, you always let this go, you're left with 22% HP. I made the mistake of casting this skill. I could honestly just went for the normal basic, and it would have been fine, because what's gonna happen is that when he brings up the dices, right, when he brings up the dices, we let go of our counter. We're still stuck in this stage. Yeah, we're still stuck in the Aventurine stage. So when I let go of this ultimate, it actually deals no damage, and the rest of my teams come back into play. So now I basically just have to waste my time just dealing all of these stacks, waiting for the dices to go back to normal, and then I can finally kill him. So at this point, ideally what should have happened is that you don't even need to let go of the taunt and just let it go, right? Just let it go, use your basic attack, and then afterwards immediately you can just let go of this ultimate to just kill him instantly, right? So even though it was a little bit of a misplay, doesn't really matter anymore, because the dices is perfectly made to give your Phainon a free ultimate, and the moment you get into your ultimate, let go of an enhanced skill, and then he's dead, right? Super easy 0 cycle. I would say that Aventurine is one of those like perfectly tailored bosses for Phainon. It was so easy that, oh my god, it was so funny, right? And in fact, I also went ahead to show you guys another 0 cycle over here. So this is gonna be a little bit different, where I literally skipped the entirety of phase 2, because I thought to myself, is it possible for me to just do so much damage to the point that I can just don't even enter the phase 2 mechanic? So the start is going to be exactly the same. You can see over here, our Bronya does need to reset, right? If you get hit for the first wave way too frequently, especially with my Bronya, you just need to reset, right? You just need to reset and reset and reset. And keep in mind over here, our HP is also a little bit low. If your Bronya actually has like 4k HP, it's gonna be a lot better. So yep, you gotta reset, and eventually you actually get it. So now that the RNG is gonna be settled, the start is going to be exactly the same. So I'm just gonna skip forward, right? So this is exactly the same. Let go of your enhanced ultimate, let go of everything. Booms, almost 2 million damage. And then this over here, you actually did not overkill, because to be fair, this enhanced skill, the AoE, is a little bit of an RNG with regards to the bounce, so you just have to see where it lands. So now we actually did not overkill, and we enter the next phase with 6 out of 4, right? We enter the next phase with 6 out of 4, which means that we have a little bit more leeway to cast our enhanced skill that one more additional time, right? So now we're gonna let go of this big booms, instantly dropping to 19% HP, go for a basic attack, 5% left. So this is gonna be almost exactly the same as previously, except the key difference right now is you don't let go of your enhanced skill, you lose your basic to get him into phase 2, right? You use your basic to get him to phase 2, so now you actually have enough damage to basically go all in over here. So let go of this enhanced skill, and then the ultimate is just gonna go for the booms, right? So this goes in for 25% health remaining, and then it explodes. And at this point, your entire team, because you were locked in, like I said, it was locked in the same exact action value after Robin casts her ultimate. You can essentially get back into Phainon's ultimate state almost immediately, right? So to a certain extent, you skipped the entirety of Aventurine's face, a little bit similar to how Boot Hero can skip the entirety of his face if you just dealt enough damage, right? And fortunately for us, we don't even need to get 12 stacks because of the raw damage we get from Bubbin. It was able to easily just kill this from a single, look at this, a single normal skill. This is not even his output, a normal skill, 537,000 damage E0 S1, right? So absolutely insane. So that's gonna be the 0 cycle running our E0 S1 Phainon. And then before we get into the E2 Phainon, which, oh my god, I don't think I've had this much fun with an E2 unit, but this is gonna be the build specifically for Phainon. So something like this. And then we do have ourselves a Sunday at this exact same speed. And then Bronya, you just need to remember to keep your Bronya speed to be 1 speed minus Sunday, right? So this Bronya, it shouldn't be the case. I used this Bronya was for our E2 Phainon, right? This was for our E2 Phainon running low speed. And this should be 134. And then this is going to be our Robin build. Basically 4k attack, 122. Didn't even give a damn about the fleeters, whatever, just join whatever. And that's going to be an E1 S1 Robin with our E0 S1 Sunday, as well as our E1 S1 Bronya. I would say this E1, it can be quite noticeable, especially if you could not kill him in the first ultimate and get into the next phase. You probably do need the additional skill point in order to get us back into the ultimate as fast as possible, because without this skill point, I don't think you have enough skill points to actually cast your next skill with Phainon, so you have to rely on your enemies hitting you instead, right? So now let's get into the E2 0 cycles. Alright, so this is going to be done using a full team of essentially quote-unquote like free units running our E2 S1 Phainon with RMC Tingyun as well as Bronya. And then we are able to get this 0 cycle, and you can see how this rotation turns out, right? So you can see over here, the most important thing is our rotation completely changes compared to a faster Phainon with a slower Sunday in this particular junction, at least for his 0 cycle showcase. And the most important thing is, you can see, do not use your Bronya skill on Phainon here, because Mimi is about to get 100% charge. So the extra turn is going to be completely wasted. You do want to get a little bit more skill points, and Bronya does push herself back up, so we definitely have enough action to go again. Mimi comes back in, give us the true damage buff. We're just gonna do our normal things. So we're gonna do our basic attack, let him hit us, summons his goons, let go of our ultimate after he summons his goons so we can do a little bit more war armor stacks. And then we are gonna cast our Bronya ultimate. Yes, we are gonna be using double DDD on both Bronya and Tingyun, right? So that is gonna be the power of 2 different DDDs, E1 S0. Tingyun is just gonna go ahead and continue on giving our stacks to Phainon. So that is gonna be 9 stacks, giving us the energy as well. And then finally, Bronya's E1 activates. So keep in mind, that is already E1 Bronya activated. You can see our skill points actually very tight over here. We are gonna go ahead into the skill, 12 stacks, instantly get into the ultimate phase. And this is where E2 Phainon shines. So what E2 Phainon essentially does is, as long as you have 4 stacks, you basically double your actions. So theoretically, if you were to play a E2 Phainon in like pure fiction, you can get up to 16 actions in a single ultimate, theoretically speaking. In Manual Chaos, I don't think it's gonna be that possible, so it's more like a little bit like Firefly. Every ultimate turn you get this extra turn, because with this ultimate skill, you slam in 970k, gets an extra turn, go for the basic, and then now you're at 4 out of 4 again, you slam in, and that is going to leave you at 2, right? So that's going to be 0 out of 4, and then go for the basic attack, that's going to be 2. This is from the extra turn, and then you have to basic attack again, saving you to 4 out of 4, and then at this point, you just want to start saving, right? At this point, you have to let go of your basic attack, kill the horse, and then get into the next wave, because if you would use the ultimate here, it's going to be a complete waste. So this is where you start building your stacks. So even if you are going to be running an E2 Phainon, the ideal principle is still exactly the same, holding off to at least ideally 4 out of 4, if not better 6 out of 4 stacks going into wave 2 up against, in this case, going to be True Swarm. So we slam this back in for 1 million damage, and then we do get an extra turn, and then this entire time you only just rotate basic attack, ultimate, basic attack, ultimate, super straightforward, and there really is not too much to think about. Very simplistic gameplay, if I can say so myself. This is gonna move to 11% HP, and I was thinking to myself, does this kill? Yes, it actually does kill, which means we do not get any 1%. So our next phase, the phase change from this the world-ending TV thing, it actually doesn't deal any wasted damage, and it's gonna help us clear the mobs, right? So one of the things I've mentioned as well with Phainon is that if you do not clear the mobs, right, this AoE damage for your enhanced skill, because it's 1140% multiplier split amongst the enemies evenly, right? It's a little bit like Argenti's ultimate where you split the 6 hits evenly. So ideal situation, you actually do not want to use Phainon against a lot of mobs, especially for the enhanced skill. You do want to save off this enhanced skill only where the main targets are remaining on the field, right? So luckily for us, we did not waste this, and this actually helped us to kill 2 of the bugs. So that's going to be very nice. And then we are almost back to 100% charge with Mimi over here. This punches 100%. Bring up Phainon. We are at 4 stacks over here. Going for the skill. Pop off this guy in the middle. 349k, get rid of the bug, and this is the point where we have a little bit of RNG because you do want to pray to God you get hit a little bit over here. So that is going to give us the additional stack. Teaming, you have to basic because otherwise your Bronya cannot cast her skill. So go for the basic, Dan's trigger, cast audio on Phainon, and then you are going to see we have a lot of leeway remaining. So our last skill point, Phainon pops back in, 12 stacks, boom, summons the ultimate, and then you let this go. And the pile of E2, you summon this giant fireball, and then if you do not kill over here, your base is gonna kill. So boom, 22% HP remaining, pop, 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 and then one more basic attack, getting us the very clean 0 cycle over here with essentially a full 4-star team, right? I actually went for the enhanced skill, even though it's not even 4 stacks, just so I guess cinema, right? So that is going to be the 0 cycle involving E2 Phainon with pretty much your 4-star supports, right? For the first half. And with that, we have come to the final, right? The final 0 cycle, this time against the next MOC12, or rather the current MOC12 you guys are playing nowadays. It's going to be Hoolay. Exact same setup, exact same principle, differing from the Fast Sunday setup. So this is going to be exactly the same, giving you the extra turn from Mimi. Remember to not use your Bronya skill at the very first wave, doing the basic attack first, holding off to the buff right before Phainon takes its action. Keep in mind that our Bronya is going to be on Dan's, so the additional action value will definitely help us a little bit, pushing up our T-Wing before the enemy just to ensure a little bit of a sustainability over there. And then now we're gonna do our exact same thing, cast on our skill, right? This is gonna be 10 stacks. Unfortunately, that guy did not hit Phainon, a little bit low over there actually, so now we're gonna be at 12 stacks. Hit this in the skill, 14 stacks, goes back in for the ultimate. So we actually got hit by the guy just now. It would have been 15 stacks. So there might be a little bit of RNG if you really want to squeeze it out. So this is going to be 1.8 million, taking out every single one of those mobs. Additional turn kicks in, then we just constantly do the exact same thing, right? So like I mentioned, you do not want to waste these very precious stacks, especially going to the next wave. So just use your basic attacks, will be more than sufficient to kill the enemies over here, right? So this pops in. I should have just aimed the guy in the middle because it was a little bit of overkill. Alright, but luckily for us, we still dealt enough damage, 307k, going to the next phase, and then we just do the exact same thing over and over again, right? So this is actually super smart. Look at this damage. 1.3 million, 40% HP remaining, goes back in for a basic attack, last 26% health, and then we slam in our second enhanced skill, instantly bring us to the phase 2. It's literally within that one action, because we do have the extra turn from E2, we just deal so much goddamn damage with Hoolay. It's comical how much easier it is nowadays to deal with a Phainon, especially E2, right? So now we're gonna be 1,086k, 26% health, goes for the basic attack, and then he's at 12% HP remaining. Our final transformation, I'm not sure if this actually gets it. Okay, 2%. Unfortunately, that really didn't give us a cinema ending, but 2% is 2%. And then finally, we ran out of skill points here, but I'm pretty sure my basic attack will just get off him right here, right? One chop, boom, and that is going to be the 0 cycle of Hoolay. Honestly, super fast and super straightforward as well. So this is going to be the build running the E2S1 Phainon. So the only thing I change is basically changing this speed boots into the attack boots. So these are going to be the stat lines. Every single speed here is basically completely useless. You don't really need to care about it that much. And then we are going to be running the alongside the Bronya, right? This is going to be 162 Bronya alongside with our RMC. This speed is honestly way too fast. You can get by with like 10 less speed, like 171, 172 speed will be more than sufficient because we were running double DDD. So this speed is like a giga overkill with the Herda Starlight code. So that is pretty much it. And then finally, our team win 167 speed, double DDD. So this is going to be on that. Oh, I just realized I didn't even activate my... oh my god, I forgot to activate my items. Okay, it is what it is, right? So that is gonna be that for our relics as well as setup required for the Phainon Quadra Zero cycle, right? And with that, we have come to the end of Phainon's Quadra Zero cycle. Let me know what you guys think of his performances in the comments down below. And if you're gonna be putting for him in the upcoming version 3.4, I would say that his benchmark, right, his baseline right now feels very, very strong in this current environment. Looking forward to see how the next environment is gonna be where he will perform. And when Saridra eventually comes out, in my opinion, that is most likely going to be Phainon's vertical investment. I think his performance can only go up from here, right? So, very, very nice. Let me know what you guys think. Word of the day is going to be absolute cinema. All right, join to it, join to it, join to it, join to it, join to it. Use code PO with 10% off gamer subs. All the best for guys. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.